So we're still in this world. So maybe this really is the bad end. We'll see. I opened my eyes. You sleep through your whole life like that? Lena looked at me seriously. What? Are you there already? Where is there? I looked around. A bench. A square. Kenda? But how? It was on the bus, going to the district center. Why are you all looking at me as if you've seen a ghost? But why am I still here? For a second I felt terrible fear. Will I never get out of this place? We were on the bus. Together. On the bus? Yesterday. Yesterday? Yes, yesterday. Don't you remember? Lena started thinking. Yesterday. I don't remember anything like that. Maybe you just had a bad dream. Considering that all that has happened already seems like a hallucination, this must be a dream within a dream then. Well, let's take it slowly. I tried to think logically. The session ended yesterday. All pianists left, but we stayed. And then we took a bus and headed to the district center. Lena surely looked perplexed. Are you kidding me? I am not kidding anyone. Today is the last day. Wait. So how much time have I spent here? Lena started to count off on her fingers. Looks like 7 days. Not 8? It's 7. Definitely 7. I gave an exhausted sigh and covered my face with my hands. So, is this not real? Or was something in between not real? I don't know. Well, that's another riddle in the long list of the camp's mystery. Well, okay. Though I have a feeling that we won't manage to leave today either. Why? Sixth sense. You're acting a bit strange today. I suppose I have my reasons. Want to tell me? I gazed at her attentively. I do. Sure. Why not? When I had a real chance to break free from this camp, everything failed. So what do I have to lose now? Now where do I start? Start from the beginning. Yes, of course. While I was born, I studied, married. Well, okay, I haven't gotten married yet. I have the feeling that was some kind of Russian wordplay again. You still have time. Yes, but, well, in a few words, like, I'm not from this world. From the look she gave me, it was clear she didn't understand me at all. I came here accidentally. I even don't know how. So, what does your world look like? Lena asked seriously. It's virtually the same, but 20 years ahead of your world. Do you already have space flight? Well, if it comes to that, you have it as well. However, we haven't made any great achievements in that field yet. Sounds interesting. I was unable to tell if Lena was taking me seriously or was just pretending to do so. I used to live in a completely different place as well. Far away to the north, judging from the landscape, in a big city. I've never been to the big cities. Maybe that is for the best. Will you show me your house? It seemed like she was taking this conversation as seriously as I was. Well, I'm not even sure it exists in this world. Oh, come on. Lena pouted. Well, sure I will. So, how did you get there? Here. One evening I took a bus, Route 410, and woke up here. I don't know anything more than that. The 410 route. That's the one that stops just outside the camp. Yes, but my 410 travels in another place. And time. Are you planning to return? Lena said, and I noticed a note of unhappiness in her voice. I have no idea how to. And if you knew? You're asking tough questions. What's wrong? Nothing, but... You see, I only just recently started to adjust to being here. The first hours in this camp were such a shock for me that... I don't know. It's okay. I still have time to think about it. Time to think? It seems that even if Lena believed me, she considers the whole situation just a typical inconvenience, and nothing more. Anyway, it's not up to me. Possibly even if I do want to stay. You see, the one who brought me here can take me back as well. I believe that any event in a person's life has a reason. Therefore, you are here for some reason. Maybe. And if you haven't returned, you must be needed here. Well, I can't rule out that interpretation. Hey! Time to pack your stuff! The camp leader's voice sounded from afar. Hear that? I don't have much to pack. But I do. So, meet you near the bus. Would you like me to help? Thanks, but there's no need. Lena smiled and ran off towards her cabin. I remained sitting on the bench, trying to cope with the shock. My thoughts were still in chaos, one theory replacing another. On one hand, me being unable to get out of this camp isn't all that odd compared to me finding myself here in the first place, but what now? What am I supposed to do? Is there any chance that I can leave camp if I try again? Anyway, what's the point in being nervous? By now, I know perfectly well that absolutely nothing is up to me. Maybe I just have to sit back and enjoy the ride? I couldn't help smiling. Especially now, when I have an additional reason not to be in any hurry to leave. That reason is Lena. Maybe she is right, and I am here for some reason. In the end, even if I can narrow down the possible explanations for my situation to a reasonable minimum, there would still be 1,001. And if I keep exhausting myself analyzing them, I'll just go mad. Maybe it's time I make a choice. Maybe this world is not so bad after all. Especially since for the first time in a long time I have something to live for. It's still a vague something, but still I have it. It exists. And now I have the power not to simply hold it, but to develop it in something bigger. With such thoughts, I stood up and started walking to Olga's cabin in order to pack my humble belongings and leave the Soviet pioneer camp forever. Okay. And now? Okay. One may think it's strange, and that's exactly how it seemed to me, but eventually we reached the district center. While that never happened, maybe this really is the bad end. I eventually got tired in the bus and fell asleep. When I woke up, I ran up and down the aisle of the bus, gasping for air, but soon I realized that this long week is over. At last I managed to break free from the camp. All the time I spent there seemed like so much longer than 7 days, and now everything is over. Soon after, the events moved with frightening speed. No time for self-analysis or seeking answers. Moreover, from time to time I completely forgot about the camp. Like anyone who finds himself in a completely strange environment, I was completely lost. I had no papers, not even a simple birth certificate, and no skills to earn a living. Professions such as computer specialist or call center operator were not in demand. Lena returned to her normal life. She had to graduate from school and get ready to enter university. The pioneer camp was in the south of the USSR, just as I'd assumed. Lena lived in a town with a population of about 100,000. It was easy to get there by bus from the district center. There was nothing special about the town. One big factory, rows of 5-story houses, wooden huts on the outskirts, a grocery store that closed at 7 p.m, and a supermarket. A true Eden for a shopaholic, with choices including rubber winter shoes, women's sheepskin coats, and men's musquash hats. Before I would already be trying to run away from a place like this, but now it was my home. Why, sounds kinda nice, actually. Cases of starvation were rare in 20th century Europe. I managed to find a job. I was employed as a turner's assistant in a factory and was also given a room in a hostel. Over time, this initially difficult and strange job started to bring a certain satisfaction. Partially, of course, that came from having the ability to buy food. Time passed, and I climbed up the career ladder, becoming the head of a whole shift. That doesn't sound so bad at all. My colleagues, he stays in the world, that's kind of unfortunate. My colleagues were amazed at my talent and persistence, and so was I. Lena graduated from school, and I spent several nights with a calculator, designing diagrams of expenses and income, and at last made up my mind to propose to Lena. I don't remember now if it took a lot of time for her to think, if she'd suggested we sign a marriage contract, or if she protested because of the lack of the dowry, but in a short time, both of us moved into a communal apartment room near the factory that cost 2/3 of my salary. Communal room near the factory? How? Oh wow, you must earn a lot. Huh. Thanks to free Soviet education for everyone, or maybe thanks to my wife's persistence, eventually I became a part-time student at the local polytechnic university. At first I protested, saying that a fair proletarian had no need to act like the lousy intellectuals. You haven't read Lenin, my friend. You haven't read Lenin. Intellectuals have a use in Lenin's theories. The intellectuals are there to educate the workers who have not the time to educate themselves. Yeah, I know, Melanie, my friend, and this is not an option. But then I came to a conclusion that a diploma would make my life easier. It wasn't difficult to study thanks to my knowledge from my last attempt at receiving a higher education. Time passed and the country started to change. Of course I knew it would happen, but still, the changes came out of the blue. You could compare it to being caught in an avalanche in the mountains. You can prepare all you like, but it will still bury you anyway. The factory was privatized and then closed down. The end of the Soviet Union is still happening. Kopeke is a Russian car, very cheap and old. I see. Moonlight as a private driver on the Kopeke car. Okay. Retro rap I inherited from my father-in-law was not really a profitable business. I was even ready to apply for a camp leader position in Sovyanok when Lena's distant relative died and left us a one-room apartment somewhere in central Russia. Khrushchevska is a low-cost concentrate paneled 3 to 5 storied building developed in USSR during the reign of Nikita Khrushchev. Okay. After a family... Jesus. Reading shit again. After a family council, we decided to move. We greeted the early 90s in a cramped kitchen in Khrushchevska, watching Swan Lake. Thanks to random side jobs, I saved up my money, and we decided to move to a bigger city. And of course, I chose my birthplace. We decided to sell the flat and use the money to invest in business. For some time, we lived in luxury, buying mink for fur coats and expensive foreign cars, dining in restaurants, and taking trips to other countries. Like many others during that time, I had the luck to somehow make it big, starting from the bottom. My business was constructing material retail. It was a profitable market at the time, because people made excessive money that they wanted to invest in luxurious homes. Maybe such life could have gone on, but the 90s were called rakish for a reason. After encountering rackets and corruption, I was left with an empty refrigerator, an empty wallet, and the bitter taste of blood in my mouth. That was the time I tried to recall my man from the future status. Betting places that were impossible in the Soviet era popped up all over, and I rushed to gamble on everything I knew. However, I faced new disappointments, as matches were won by completely different teams. Even the 1994 World Cup champion wasn't Brazil. Oh, that is unfortunate. When I was just watching football on TV, everything went as it should. But whenever I spent the last of my money to make a bet, even underdogs began phenomenally beating favorites. Well, maybe you shouldn't bet then. As well as that, I tried to pursue the career of a political advisor. However, you don't get accepted into a high position like that without special connections, or anything that would make people interested. I don't know how long I would have gone through this torment, if not for an event which changed everything. Me and Lena had a child. In a hurry, I started to search for any possible way to earn enough to provide my family. I remembered some of my father's old friends, and through them, by pretending to be a distant relative of myself. Oh, so you exist in this world though. Okay, cool. Try to never meet you, otherwise the world will explode. I gained a place as a junior data analyst in a bank. At the same time, I made a new attempt to obtain my degree. Or to be precise, to finish it. Time passed slowly. The money was just enough to fill our stomachs. I almost lived at work for days, trying to find some time for my exams. Lena stayed at home with the baby. That was when I started writing. I remember as if it was yesterday. It was just after midnight, and I was sitting in the kitchen in front of my old, worn-out i386, wildly killing monsters in Doom 2. I wanted to sleep badly, but computer games at least slightly distracted me from the infinity of dull days. When I completed another level, I was suddenly immersed in thoughts about everything I'd gone through during the last few years. It was all too much for one person. That's when I decided to write down everything that had happened to me. I launched the word processor and wrote down about 200 words, with the clear intent of continuing it tomorrow. However, I didn't remember it tomorrow, nor even a week later. About a month later, Lena, who was typing something on the computer, reminded me of my unfinished book. I reread it and deleted it, terrified. At the moment, I started to doubt if I could ever do it. After all, it was an entire epic novel, and I wasn't even able to string 2 sentences together. In addition, it's not easy to write about yourself. Creative work put on the back burner for now. I celebrated the arrival of the year 2000 as a certified specialist with department head duties. While moving to another apartment, I found my old I-386 among the trash that was to be thrown away, and I remembered my intention of writing a book about my life. I laughed. How stupid. However, after some time, I opened my laptop and made a sort of draft of a short story about a young man without a definite occupation or aspirations who finds himself on a different planet. The style, orthography, and punctuation, as well as the idea itself, were matched well to such a silly plot. I showed the story to my wife. She laughed, but said that it was well written and advised me to continue. About a year later, the drawer designated for holding my literary works was full. I found that very odd because I was spending entire days at works, sometimes even during holidays, and I tried to spend all my available free time with my family. However, that is what happened. Yeah, you can always find time if you want to find time. Around that time, I decided to publish my first short stories. As with any other beginner's work, most of mine were rejected, but a couple of them were accepted, including my first work. I was over the moon. Of course, I was paid nothing, but my works will be read, meaning that someone will find them interesting. Time passed. We had a second baby now. During my spare time, Jesus, this goes on long. This is really long. During my sparing time, I slowly wrote a novel. No, not about my life or the pioneer camp. I decided not to touch upon these themes ever again. Everything that had happened years ago seemed to be the will of God, whose charity should not be tempted. Ah well, if you say so. Who can tell what would have happened if I hadn't woken up in a bus near the Soviet gates? A year later, the novel was completed. After I had annoyed almost all known publishers, I managed to reach an agreement with a small company. The editor, an elderly man wearing a ragged tweed jacket and thick spectacles with almost rubbed against his magnificent grey mustache, told me, "Your level is average, young man. Average, yes. But the idea itself is interesting. Interesting, yes. Well, you need more practice and, more reading. Yes." I remembered these words for the rest of my life. I dispensed the copies that were sent to me as part of my royalty agreement among my friends and colleagues. Lena, who read my novel only after it was published, told me that she really liked it. Mostly out of a desire to not upset me, I guess. So, she's really not crazy anymore? Okay. Time passed. The calendar days were unstoppably approaching that day when I was pulled out of my world and thrown into this life, starting from the mysterious pioneer camp and now ending up here. Now I am a successful writer, at least according to the number of copies my books have sold. I have a wonderful wife and 2 children. My life has turned 180 degrees. Midnight tonight is the start of something new. Tomorrow is the day that I was awaiting for so many years. What are you thinking about? Huh. I opened my eyes and saw Lena. She put a cup of tea on the table near an armchair. Interesting choice that they now show his eyes. Firewood was gently cracking in the fireplace, and a snowstorm was roaring outside. I wrapped myself up in a plaid blanket and looked at Lena. Do you know what day it is? No, what day? Do you remember what I told you back in the camp? No. No wonder. During all these years I'd never brought it up, the topic of my mysterious arrival at this world. Do you remember how I told you that I'm not from this world? Lena paused. Well, something like that, yes. So today is the day when many years ago I got on the 410 bus and woke up at the pioneer camp. So, it's an anniversary? Lena smiled. Yes, sort of. Is it a sad celebration for you? No, not at all. And I remember almost nothing about that time. Maybe that is for the best. I added some firewood to the fire and took the mug from the table. Maybe I'll write a novel. You will read it and remember. You think that is a good idea? Lena's expression became serious. Indeed, I once promised myself that I would never write about it. Maybe it is not. After all, everything that happened is just for us. That's exactly what I think. I sighed and looked at the fire. You know, life is like a candle. Someone's got a short one, someone's got a long one, and it can burn out any moment. Then our life is like the fireplace. Yes, perhaps. I looked at her and smiled. I'll sleep for a while longer. Lena kissed me and fixed her gaze on the fire in a dreamy manner. My eyes closed and my whole reality compressed itself down the cracking of the firewood. I started falling slowly somewhere far away. No, it was not a dream. More like warm ether, gently enveloping my entire existence. Achievement unlocked, living the dream? This was the good end? What? I did everything GameFAQs told me. What the hell? And this was the good end? Le fuck. Huh. Well. Sorry, now I've played the good end before the bad end. Well, actually, that added some suspense to the story. I was thinking I was playing the bad end and was waiting for the spoilers to happen, but they never happened. Okay. So, no explanation for crazy maniac Lena. Well, what can I say? On a romance level, that failed yet again. But on a story level, it was quite interesting. On a romance level, this is totally unacceptable and not understandable. I mean, who the fuck? She's crazy. Like, for fucking real. But I guess we had to have a yandere in our game, didn't we? You know? No, I think I'll talk about that in my final thoughts. But still, on a romance level, this was stupid, kinda, again. But at least on a story level, it was interesting. It was not uninteresting. It was just a bit, you know, it was not like a love story. It added to the story of the camp, you know. And it's interesting that her end is an end that does not end in the real world. And seemingly the only end, at least by now. Maybe Miko's end will also be in the fake world, but I don't know, man. I don't know. Maybe I had too many, yeah, the problem was probably, I guess, that I had too many positive points with Lena, and when I decided the Alisa shit, he just said, I said, he helped her anyway. So maybe that was the problem. Or GameFAQs was just wrong and I had to help Alisa and then something else would have happened. Jesus, so... my thoughts. This was rather interesting. This was a rather interesting route. And I mean, again... The turns it took in the end, that she was a crazy maniac and she sent Olga away and then he suddenly wakes up on day 7 again. I don't know really what that was about. I guess this probably adds to the speculation stuff, but I guess I first have to think about that. Yeah, I don't know. As mentioned, at least there were some interesting parts. There were some interesting parts. I learned quite a bit, and the message he actually got about Lena, that you know, you judged her the whole time by what you seen the first time, but actually she's totally different. It would have been great if it wasn't like done times 100, you know, Lena totally going crazy, punching people, yelling at you the whole time for nothing. I being afraid that she will rip Simeon's dick off. You know what I mean? This one went far too far to teach that lesson. Oh well. Oh well, well, well. What can you do? What indeed can you do? So, not a bad route. At least we learned some things. Semyon was not totally annoying. He was stupid at times, but he was at least trying this time. But then suddenly after the punching Alisa thing, everything went crazy. Now if you like that, okay. I found it just random. And I mean, it's an anime cliche, but to be honest, I think I've never seen an anime with a yandere. Never. Never ever, so that doesn't really concern me in a way like, boah, I've seen that 1,000 times now, but more like, that's stupid, you know? That's basically just stupid. Again, potential wasted. Interesting. Okay, final words. Interesting, but lots of potential wasted. And I don't want to offend anybody, but as of now, this is the story of the game. Interesting, but very often, very much potential wasted. That's kind of sad. Well, like, maybe when everything comes together, I will be totally blown away and will be totally proven wrong. But we'll see about that. So, thank you everybody for watching. Come back for the next part. And I'll see you then. Bye bye.